Here again, Mr. Independent, Lou Dobbs.
Joining me now, four of my favorite political analysts, all CNN contributors. Republican strategist, former White House political director Ed Rollins, professor of political science, professor of law at Vanderbilt University, Carol Swain, Democratic strategist, Democratic National Committeeman Robert Zimmerman, columnist, New York Daily News, Errol Lewis. Well, let's get started. The president today announcing he is reviving military tribunals for terrorist suspects at Guantanamo Bay. I thought we had rolled back Guantanamo Bay. We had rolled back tribunals. What's going on, Errol?
Well, they want to close it, but it seems that of the 240-odd prisoners who are still there, at least 20 of them charged with war crimes are not going to be appropriate candidates for a civilian trial. They also can't be left in limbo indefinitely. There are probably no nations that particularly want to take them back right now, and so they're
France.
Well, taking some, but you know, look, I think they're going to create some procedures so that there'll actually be some trials. I mean, over the last 6 years,
I wasn't worried about
three trials.
I wasn't worried about there being trials. I was worried about there being a reversal here and a diminution of which you know, of the initiatives that the Obama administration apparently had undertaken.
Well, I think for the 20 or so who will probably go.
I really applaud him on this because it really shows that now that he's president, he has access to intelligence and facts that the ordinary people don't, and that he's governing wisely, at least on this issue. So on this, I'm a fan of Obama.
I would agree. I think it's very complicated.
Let me that may have been lost. You agree?
I agree. I think he's clearly flip-flopped, but I think he has learned a lot about the difficulty. It's really easy as a candidate to say we're going to do all these things. He now knows the complications that are there. And I think to a certain extent, his national security briefing every day, he has to walk away from that shuddering a little bit. And I think he's doing the right thing.
Well, I think it's important to note a president who's capable of growth and change and learning new facts and adjusting to new realities. We went through 8 years where the Bush administration really was a faith-based organization. Excuse me, let me finish my point. My point is, we went through 8 years of faith-based analysis when it came to fighting terrorism, not based on facts.
That's total crap.
But we also,
faith-based, that's what we were fighting. We were fighting a terrorist.
No, we were fighting in Iraq.
Go talk to some of your friends who lost people on 9/11, Robert. Go talk to some of your friends.
We fought in Iraq under false pretenses. We ignored al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We pursued a policy not based upon fighting terrorism.
We went into Afghanistan, and we fought terrorists, and we're still fighting there. It's a complicated issue.
We fought in Iraq based upon an agenda that had nothing to do with fighting terrorism. And I think the difference here right now is Barack Obama understands the essential new ways to fight terrorism. I think he's adjusting to it.
But I also think there's a difference between what candidates say and what they actually do when they get in office, and that he made a lot of promises that I hope he doesn't keep.
Yeah, Errol, I mean, that's interesting because the ACLU, left-wing groups all over the country are outraged about stopping the release of those photographs, the reversal on the issue of tribunals in Guantanamo Bay. I happen to agree with Carol as well. This is not a flip-flop. This is a man saying, I'm learning something, and I've got the guts to reverse myself.
Well, I also see it, though. I mean, how do you even move forward on the policy? The Bush administration policy, when it comes to Guantanamo, was essentially to do nothing. I mean, these folks were sitting there pretty much.
I didn't mention a word about George W. Bush. I was actually complimenting the President of the United States for reversing his position and taking into account realities which, as Carol may have suggested, he was unaware of as a candidate.
That's right. We don't know everything.
So what's George Bush got to do with it?
Well, no, I got to tell you, I don't see it as a reversal. I mean, if I understand,
I'm not talking about reversing from George Bush. I'm talking about
walking away from his campaign rhetoric.
Not walking, absolutely reversing it. Walking away. I don't know what that means.
Let's be clear, though. If there of the 200,
I'm trying to be.
Of the 240 who are in custody, we're not expecting 240
I'm sitting here saying to you, the
trials.
President of the United States just did something positive. You're seeming to say to me that he didn't. Now, if you don't like what he did, say so.
Well, no, I don't know.
Don't walk away from it.
I don't know if positive or negative is what's important. I think we should try to avoid. But I think we have to be clear on what has happened.
I think you have just reached a new level of etymology that I think we ought to think about. You don't know if it's important for it to be positive or negative when we're coming to the interests of the United States.
Well, no, I think we need to understand. You need to understand what has happened.
I'm trying to understand you, let alone what's happened. What are you complaining about?
I'm not complaining about anything. I'm trying to point out that what I think has happened. What I think has happened. You all can tell me whether it's positive or negative. What I think has happened.
I think it's important to remember that when presidents make decisions, they're close calls and they're tough decisions. Barack Obama made 2 tough decisions this week regarding the release of the photos, putting our soldiers first, our security first, above transparency. I applaud him for doing that. And I think
the ideologues go crazy over that. Right. They want to call that a flip-flop. They want to call that, whatever. It's a reversal.
That's right.
And by the way, adults and men and women in positions of responsibility reverse themselves from time to time and do so. And it looks as if we're going to see that continue. And I compliment the president. But I think it's interesting that ideology at this table and partisanship at this table can lead to an argument over what is a positive comment, a compliment to the President of the United States, because it doesn't conform to an ideological preconception. That's pitiful, folks. That's pitiful.
Well, the key thing here is you got to forget George Bush. George Bush is gone. That happened last November 7th. It's now about this president and this Congress. You have it all. You get to move the country forward. And,
I want to, you know what? I'd like to interrupt one more time, because there's another positive I want to say, a comment about, if I may. And that is the President of the United States saying to special interest groups, ethnocentric interest groups, and others, back off. I'm going to nominate a person to be Justice of the Supreme Court. Leave me alone. I'm going to make my judgments based on meritocracy. You know, the same way he got to be the editor of the Harvard Law Review.
Well, I was going to suggest that trying to tell him what to do on the Constitution is like trying to tell him how to play basketball. Well, this is his home field. Right?
I don't know that it is. In point of fact, I think he's very familiar with it. I think he's very knowledgeable, as he is about so many things. But I do think this man's starting to demonstrate he can learn from lots of people. And those who would suggest and try to attach to this man some sort of superhuman qualities, I think you're unfairly binding him and frankly, hamstringing him. This, I think, is a very positive thing. Do you not, Robert?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the great aspects of this administration has been the humility they've shown. When he was elected, he was very conscious of the 47% that didn't vote for him. And I think...
I haven't seen
now
that.
It's humility?
I think they've shown a willingness to listen to different points of view. And about willingness to reach out to different points, to include different points of view in making a decision.
Isn't it enough here, my God, folks, that we can talk about what he is doing correctly, what he's doing in the interest of the country, irrespective of the ideology, the partisanship, without ascribing superhuman qualities? My God, who do you know in the immediate vicinity who is humble? I mean, let the man alone. Let him be the President of the United States. He doesn't have to be some sort of demigod.
I don't think he is. I don't think humility is an extraordinary quality. I think it's
it's in rare...
Well, unfortunately, it's in too rare a form. Right. But I think we have a lot of people in government, I've met many of them, and Ed has worked with them, who have also been in awe of the office they've held and humbled by it. And I think...